It seems like we can never bring up an ounce of politics without turning the family dinner table into a war zone. When typing losing friends over into the Google search bar, two of the first three suggestions are losing friends over Black Lives Matter and losing friends over politics. Sometimes we wonder why politics are just so divisive, and the simple answer is the dreaded two-party system. Currently, America seems to be moving into a more and more polarized country, and looks like it's headed for the Civil War Part 2. In 2012, the Pew Research Center determined that the division between both parties' views on several policies had nearly doubled since 1975. America has had some form of the two-party system since the founding of this nation, and it has never become as big of a deal as it has now. John Adams, one of America's most influential founding fathers, warned us about our current system by saying, quote, "A division of the republic into two great parties is to be dreaded as a great political evil." The two-party system in America causes our government to be less efficient. It also causes increased division between candidates and American voters. To resolve this deeply rooted problem, we must, first, examine the causes. Second, look at the effects. And finally, find ways to resolve this issue. Moving on to our first point, we'll take a look at an article published by Psychology Today. According to the article, groupthink is a phenomenon in which people make irrational or poor decisions to conform with their in-group. Out of all the possible people we would want making irrational or poor decisions, our politicians would be last on the list. Our politicians determine whether wars will break out, how to address global poverty, and even how much water we're allowed to flush our toilets with. It's no wonder that our politicians are as divided as they are. Groupthink is an extremely dangerous phenomenon, and has been the cause of so much death and has been the cause of so much conflict throughout human history. The "they aren't like us" reasoning is something that directly caused the Holocaust, slavery in America, and many other forms of genocide and oppression. This claim is affirmed by the same Psychology Today article, saying that groupthink can cause one to ignore ethics or morals, while prioritizing one specific group, and possibly being the sole cause of death and destruction. One would think that people would learn from these horrible mistakes and do everything in their power to avoid forcing themselves into groups. But unfortunately, our political system has not been so clever. Not only can the two-party system cause groupthink, it can also lead to a lack of consensus and failures for parties to make compromises. Currently, the Senate only needs a pure majority to pass legislation, meaning that a 51 to 49 vote would pass regardless of what the law was. This happened very recently in our Supreme Court with the Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who was appointed with a 52 to 49 vote. This can cause a party with a very minor lead in the Senate and the House to pass laws as radical and outrageous as they please, and provided they win by a single vote, the law would pass. This means that all one needs is a minor lead for a vote to pass, and that a 51 to 49 vote would pass the same way that a 100 to 0 vote would. Finally, the two-party system creates an environment in which the two sides are not likely to work together, and would be less efficient in passing laws. According to the National Archives, a constitutional amendment can only be passed with two-thirds of the Senate and two-thirds of the House agreeing to pass the law. This is almost impossible to do because of how divided our political system is. It's no wonder that the last time an amendment of any substance was passed was in 1992, according to archives.gov. If we abolish the two-party system, most politicians would feel less pressure to vote along with their party, and it would actually be possible to make an amendment to the Constitution. To solve this disastrous system we have in place, we must examine the causes, by trying our best to think back to our U.S. history classes. America has had the two-party system since its birth, and with the first election in which candidates ran as a member of a party being in 1796. At this time, the Founding Fathers viewed the two-party system as a temporary solution. They didn't expect it to last over 250 years in the future, according to ushistory.org. In an article published by PBS, the first political parties in America were the Federalists, a party that wanted a stronger national government and supported the new Constitution, and their opposition, the Democratic Republicans, who didn't want a strong central government and opposed the new Constitution. The Federalists eventually disbanded and formed a new party in the 1830s, called the Whig Party. The goal of this party was to challenge Andrew Jackson's Democratic Republican Party. The Democratic Republicans supported slavery, while the Whigs did not, and, like their predecessors, the Whigs disbanded due to internal disagreements. After this, Republicans took the Whigs' place and represented the will of the northern United States, and the Democrats represented the white Southerner. This system we had lasted until the latter half of the 20th century, in which the two parties switched platforms, and we have the system that we have today, where Republicans tend to represent traditional conservatives and Democrats represent progressives. The solution to this issue would be to support third parties and hopefully break down our two main parties. There are several political parties that are not Democrats or Republicans, and these parties are called third parties. Most other countries have three or more main parties, while the United States only has two. According to Senate.gov, there are only two senators that belong to a third party in our Senate, being Bernie Sanders and Angus King respectively. In 2014, 23% of Americans had libertarian views. However, Gary Johnson, a Libertarian Party member running for president in 2016, got less than 1% of the popular vote. This shows that for some reason, Americans tend to vote against their own interest, likely due to believing that only candidates from either the Democratic or Republican Party have a chance of winning. And obviously, this is not true, since a large portion of Americans support the Libertarian Party. If Americans who agreed with third-party candidates voted for third-party candidates, we would see much more diverse ideas represented in government. And this would solve many of the issues I stated earlier that come with our two-party system. There are many other third parties out there from both sides of the political spectrum, like the Green Party and the American Democratic Socialist Party for left-wingers, and the Libertarian Party for right-wingers, according to Ballotpedia.org. There are many more parties out there, and I can almost guarantee that you find one that you support. We often hear that voting third party is throwing your vote away, which is untrue on so many levels. Great Britain currently has a functional three-party system, with its most recent party, the Labour Party, being founded in the year 1900, and taking place as a major third party alongside the Liberal Democrats and Conservative Party. This proves that it's well beyond possible for a third party to find success, if enough people choose to vote for it. I encourage you to find a third party candidate that you agree with, and vote for it. Don't let anyone tell you that it's a wasted vote when it's in fact the complete opposite. If we work to change the system, we definitely can. So please, next time you're at the polls, take a risk and vote for a candidate who does not belong to one of the major parties. It's about time that we get rid of this system that we have. In retrospect, I've proven that our two-party system is deeply flawed by providing evidence it causes groupthink and can lead to a lack of consensus. I have looked at our nation's history to acknowledge the causes, as well as provided examples of third parties that we can elect to represent us. If we all work to change the system, we definitely can. So please, next time you're at the polls, take a risk and vote for a candidate who doesn't belong to either the Democratic or Republican Party. It's about time that we modernize the way we view politics, and it all starts with you and with me and you, average American voters.